Hey folks, you know I take my trail camera intel pretty seriously. It's a huge part of how I build my hunting strategy, and I'm always looking for gear that just flat out works. Stuff I can rely on. Backed by solid people and the best customer support in the business. That's exactly why I run Tacticam Reveal cell cameras. Whether you're just getting started or you're a full-blown data junkie like me, they've got a camera to fit your budget and your hunting style. My go-to currently is the Reveal 3.0 series with fully integrated GPS. These things are dead simple to set up. Less fiddling, more scouting and hunting. And they run on most major service providers and will automatically connect you to the strongest signal in your area. So no more hiking to the top of a ridge just to realize you've got the wrong service provider. Been there, not fun. Here's the kicker. You don't even need an SD card. That means fewer trips in, less pressure on your spots, and more real-time intel sent straight to your phone. And if you pair it with a Reveal solar panel or a lithium cartridge, you can keep those cameras running longer and spend more time doing what actually matters. Scouting new ground, dialing in a setup, or maybe, just maybe, finally cleaning the garage like you told your wife you would before the season started. Don't just take my word for it. Check out Tacticam Reveal at tacticam.com. Tacticam. Everything you need to take your hunting to the next level. Stay more comfortable, more concealed, and in the stand longer with Oscio gear. Premium camouflage apparel created for bow hunters by bow hunters. Oscio's revolutionary patented camo patterns and innovative features are designed to keep whitetail bow hunters totally invisible and dead quiet. Elevate your game with Oscio. Visit asiogear.com and take 20% off your purchase with code TRUTH20. If you're like me, e-scouting isn't just part of the process, it is the process. And nobody's doing it better than Spartan Forge. This is a veteran-owned company that built the only science-based scouting platform on real GPS collar data and artificial intelligence to predict deer movement. But where it really shines is with their imagery. Spartan Forge now has a high-res UAV coverage for 80% of the whitetail states, down to 5-centimeter detail. That means you can see trails, old logging roads, cuts, even subtle vegetation changes that most apps completely miss. And if you really want to get nerdy, their LiDAR layer breaks right through the canopy so you can see the forest floor. Gives you some visibility to those hidden draws, ditches that big bucks absolutely love to live in. Add in historical wind data and a desktop-only features like Eagle Eye and Cyber Scout, and you've got the most advanced hunting app out there. Start your risk-free 14-day trial today at spartanforge.ai. Welcome to the Truth in the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast, brought to you by Tacticam Reveal Cellular Cameras. I'm your host, Clint Campbell, and you're listening to episode number 462. Today, I'm joined by my buddy, Don Bolognese, to talk about killing big bucks in unassuming places. So stay tuned. All right. What is up, everyone? Happy Wednesday to you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you are feeling fine as we lead into this second week, I think, third week maybe of October. Things are just starting to kind of get right. Spent some time, did the first kind of trip of the season in the travel trailer. Took a trip previously that I was just kind of truck camping, but took a couple day trip here this past weekend. I guess it was really kind of Thursday through Sunday to do a little hunting. Had a good hunt, had fun. No deer were harmed. It was really kind of an uneventful trip for the most part, you know, in this big woods kind of piece. Hunts hard this time of year. I've talked about that in the past. But felt like I had a really good hunt on Sunday morning. Kind of got rained out Saturday night. Hunted Saturday morning. I think Friday's hunt was kind of okay. I really just kind of hunted the evening. I had a bad wind for where I wanted to go set up Friday morning. So you know, planned to not kind of booger that area up. And truth be told, I didn't have time to like really go in and scout Friday morning because I had to work. So I had to get back to the trailer to sign on for work, et cetera, et cetera. So really just kind of had a hunt Friday night, had the place that I ultimately wanted to get to. I think it was Friday morning. I hunted that Saturday morning, got in there, heard a deer behind me, heard a deer grunting kind of back on this ridge. And after kind of like, you know, late morning rolled around, I hopped down, kind of scouted my way into this area. I'd walked through it a couple years ago probably, but hadn't been back, you know, into this particular area since I originally scouted it. And so I heard that deer back in that particular area. Now this is a little bit ways away. It wasn't like he was 20 yards away or anything like that, but I could hear him, you know, behind me grunting. And so I walked into that area, just kind of see. I was like, maybe I bump him, maybe he's bedded, and I'll kind of know exactly where he's at, and figured I would just kind of take that way out and scout my way out. Maybe I find something interesting, for either the evening or potentially the next morning. So ended up scouting my way out and ran into a pile of sign, like a pile. It's probably the most fresh sign and the most kind of aggregated sign I've ever kind of found on this particular piece. It was just littered with rubs, littered with scrapes, and ultimately where I thought I could set up. I don't want to give too much away about the setup, but it was in between kind of two habitat features, if you will. And one area I could kind of get into a tree, but I felt like I was maybe just on the outskirts of where I wanted to be. And if I hunted a little closer, a little tighter to like where the sign was and where it was just like a little thicker, a little bit more cover, there were no trees to get into. When I say no trees, I mean there's not a tree big enough to get into. And if you were in a tree, good luck shooting anything because you're never going to make it through, the stem count that's in this area. And so I decided a ground setup would probably be my best bet. And where I set up, there was, I think I counted 7 rubs, all within like what I would call like pretty much even longbow shooting range, and 4 scrapes that were all there, like different. 1 or 2 of them were pretty good size, and 2 of them were just kind of like looked like more frustration, kind of paw marks, if you will. And whenever I scouted through there that morning, it was clear that those were fresh. So they were either made the night previously or they were made, very early morning, that particular day. And so I kind of got pushed out in the rain, that afternoon and hopped in there Sunday morning and put on a hunt there and had a great wind, for that setup. It was one of those places where it's like, you almost felt like, yeah, this should happen. But no deer showed. But regardless, it was a real cool setup, an area that I will want to kind of keep tabs on in the future. The more I spend time on this piece, and the more I kind of start to, I don't want to say understand, but start to kind of see some of the patterns and how they use different areas during different times of the year. Talked about it in the past. Like this place just hunts really hard in October. There's some really good rut setups on this piece, but October is a challenge. But for me, I'm getting ready to head to the Midwest here in like 2 weeks. I think I leave like the 24th, if I'm not mistaken. And so my time in PA is going to be limited. I don't even know if I'll get back up to hunt that. I might just have to hunt local until I leave and kind of see what shakes. So that's kind of the plan for now. Getting excited for my trip to the Midwest. Looking forward to that. All systems are go with the trailer. So it was nice to get an inaugural kind of trip out of the way with that. Make sure everything's working as it should. And ready to rock and roll, man. Like the good stuff it's just going to get better from here. And I'm super stoked. I think I'm going to take a day off this week and hunt as well, because a couple of my favorite dates are coming up. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. But with that, we're going to just go ahead and jump into today's show. Have a cool show for you guys today. Have my buddy Dom on. Dom's from New Jersey, hunts a lot of suburban ground, and he just has a knack for finding really good deer in areas that are very unassuming, where you would think deer probably can't possibly live. Killed a great deer this year, and we talk about that buck and just kind of like the interesting way that he found it, and what that deer was kind of doing. I'm always interested to talk to guys that are hunting in places that, are unfamiliar to me, or maybe seem kind of like I wouldn't even think, some of the setups, if you will. And Dom has that in spades. So we'll just kind of jump into it. As always, thank you all for listening. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Truth from the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast. And today I got my buddy on, Dom from Mr. Rogue Whitetails. What's going on, man? I can see your name there at the bottom of the screen. I was going to try your last name, dude, but I was like, man, I will butcher that thing.
I mean, everybody will get it because they see it on the menu. My last name is Bolognese, like the sauce. So,
right.
But so you can't, everyone knows that one. Right. But yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome, man. How are things, buddy? How are things in your neck of the woods? Good.
Well, I set out to kill my target buck, and I did that on September 29th. So I'm feeling real good. Now I just got to catch up with work, because as a hunter, got to get the work in, get the money, get bills paid, and then you go out and go play. So that's the game, and it's back to square one, trying to find another shooter.
Yeah, man. That balance between hunting as much as you can and getting all the work done you need to get done. Like this time of year, it's like I don't know if you feel the same way, but I try to slow down and enjoy it, because we only get this small window that we all love, right? Agreed. But I feel like a lot of times I'm stressed to the max because I'm trying to figure out, like, I'm checking the weather constantly. Okay, what days am I going to be out? Okay, I'm going to try to take this day off. Like,
Yeah,
and it's just
when
nonstop for months.
family. I mean, I have a 2-year-old now. I will say this for any of the married guys or guys that have girlfriends. The first thing you want to do is make sure your girlfriend is okay with it.
Yeah.
If she's not, get rid of her. Because my wife is, I'm blessed. My wife,
Yeah.
she's like, you got to kill this damn deer. That's good. That's all I want to hear. That, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that definitely a huge part of being a hunter, I think.
Yeah.
And then of course you work and bills, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard to get the time in,
Yeah.
and especially being a new dad, for 2 years, it's still pretty rough, but we make it work.
Yeah, yeah. It's very the significant others in our lives are the very much the unsung heroes
Yeah.
of filling tags, because I get to do a lot of cool stuff, blessed the same as you in that regard. And I never get any, like, when you going to be home? She never asks me. Now,
Yeah.
when I'm planning a trip and I'm going to go somewhere, she'll ask me, like, hey, when do you plan to be home? But she never
Yeah.
calls me in the middle of the trip and say,
No.
when are you coming home?
And that's when you've hit gold.
Yeah.
That's huge. I've been through the one of, where are you? What are you doing? Why are you in the middle of the woods? Like, what do you think? Come on.
Right.
I'm just trying to hunt. That's it. And I really think my wife, she saw that when I took her out. She really, like, when I took her out hunting for her first time, she really kind of understood, like, wow, like, all the cool stuff this guy gets to see,
Yeah.
and constantly. So, and that's what I'm trying to do with Dominic too.
Yeah.
But yeah, just for everyone that's listening, it starts at home. Make sure you got the right one. All
Yeah.
right, ladies and gentlemen, both.
Yes.
Make
Yeah.
sure.
Exactly. If man, we could stop the podcast right there and we just drop gold.
Yeah, good.
Awesome, man. Hey, before we get started and we dive into all the hunting related stuff that we're going to get to during our chat, if you don't mind, just so people have a little bit of a framework and understanding of you and your background, give folks at home a little taste of where you're from and kind of what you do for a living.
So I am from Freehold, New Jersey, Monmouth County. I've been a police officer for about 15 years now. My main goal is to do what I love for work, and that is hunting. And I really feel like this is the year where I'm starting to dive into that.
Nice.
I would love to spend a month out in Kansas. You know what I mean?
Right.
Stuff like that. And it's where I belong. It's what I know. And like I said, it's something that I have a passion for, and it's what I want to do. So
Yeah.
for my next part, that's what I want to do. I want to be full-time hunting, being in the outdoors and sharing my experience with everyone,
Nice. Heck yeah, man. Well, first off, appreciate your service, brother. So
Oh, thank you.
hats off to you, man. And it's funny the way I knew of you on, was kind of following along with you on social media and stuff like that. And then we have a mutual friend that I didn't realize we had, and that was Michael Verde.
Yes.
And
East Coast stick bow.
Yeah, East Coast stick bow. And I was talking to him the one day and I was like, hey, I want to have this guy on. I was like, but I don't know him. I was like, I'm always hesitant, right? Because sometimes people don't want to come on the show, or they don't, they're not into that thing or whatever. And so if I know someone who knows the person, I usually kind of ask, like, hey, you think this person would be cool with coming on? He's like, yeah, dude, you should totally talk to him. He's like, kills great deer. So that's actually how I got your information, was from him. And I'm curious though, knowing that you're from New Jersey, and I know a little bit about Mike and like where he's from roughly and stuff like that. But, what type of kind of areas are you hunting? Right. Cause we'll get to, like, you finding big deer kind of in unknown places, or, places that might get overlooked or whatever the case is. But, you're in New Jersey. And I think when people think of New Jersey, they think of, city,
Of course.
not a lot of like timber to hunt, right, and things like that. And so talk a little bit about the area that you hunt and stuff like that.
Well, all right. So first I want to say about Mike. All right. Number one, I give Mike a ton of credit. The guy's a killer. There's bow hunters and there's killers. He's a killer. And to do it with a stick bow, I give him a ton of credit. I know he switched over to compound, but that's fair. He at least killed a good amount of deer with that bow, and I give him all the credit in the world. So let's get that out of the way. But as for the areas that I'm hunting, there is a good amount of ag, but I have lived here pretty much my whole life. I'm 37 years old. I have so many spots that it gets ridiculous. That there's some days that I'll just go to spots knowing that there's no deer and just keep up with that person and that homeowner, because if you don't, someone else is jumping in. A lot of the spots I like hunting are tight corridors, little funnels. I do have a couple of farms that I hunt. A lot of deer I've ever shot, not on farms. I've shot them behind people's houses, that tiny little lots. If you can get in there and you can hunt it and you got the okay from a homeowner or whoever owns the land, that's what it is. You got to go where the deer are. That's the biggest thing. I always tell people you can fish a pond all summer, but if there's no 8-pound bass, you're not going to catch an 8-pound bass. So what are you doing? You're spinning your wheels. You know what I mean? You're going to keep on catching the 4-pound bass. Yeah. So you kind of got to go where the deer are. And a lot of places do get looked over. And it's funny because I noticed I've looked over places and I'm like, I didn't even think, like, why, how is there a deer on this pocket? Well, between hunting pressure across the street, or you got public land, or, you got a place that is got a ton of signs, no hunting. That's a safe corridor. That's a safe spot for them. They're going to move. They're going to come out of that little spot eventually, especially when it comes down to the rut. Every deer is going to move. You know what I mean? So, it really comes down to wherever the deer are. And I spend a ton of time. And I don't know if you saw my last post, I got like 20 something reveal cameras. I'll use them all. You have it, you might as well use it. So I'm more of your suburban guy. If you put me in a 6,000 piece of woods, I'm sure I can kill a deer, but nothing compared to what I do in this kind of area. I kind of get a little lost when I get to big woods. I'm not going to lie. It gets a little hard for me because I'm not used to it. Yeah. So, but yeah,
and that's fair, man. A lot of people, and like, all the credit to you, man, because a lot of people think at the end of the day, like, you're a good hunter and deer are deer. Given the right amount of time, you'll figure out, like, hey, the deer like to be here. This is how they want to move. This is what they want to do, because they're going to act, similar to how you kind of expect or what you kind of know from just your hunting experiences, right? But you're right. It's like the circumstances are different. When I started going out to the plains and went from hunting hills and big woods and went to the plains, man, it was,
you're like, what do I do?
Well, yeah, because you look around and you look at it and you say, I can't believe deer even live here.
Yeah.
Because it's just flat, seems wide open. But then as you spend a little time in country, you start to figure out what the deer like to use. And then once you start to figure that out, what I was saying earlier is they're still just deer. They're going to still do deer. They're going to still do deer things. And now it's just, you have to look at the terrain a little bit differently, because now they're going to use different things for different reasons, right? So now where you might come from, like, this little fence row might just be a travel corridor for them, or like what they're going to follow as an edge, but there it might be where they're bedding, right? Or a big drainage might be something they cross, like in the big woods piece, but a big drainage out there, you don't want to hunt the main drainage. You want to hunt the little offshoot tributaries, because it's almost like
I'd be like, what?
it's an inverted ridge, essentially. So instead of it being, above ground, it's just depressed, and like those little tributaries that run off of it are just what you would call like your secondary ridges, essentially, right? And so you start to change how your brain thinks about the terrain and stuff like that, and then it all starts to make sense, right? It just takes a whitetail hunter a little bit of time in country to start to see that stuff.
And I think a lot of guys kind of like, and as a whitetail hunter, a lot of guys like going into it like on their own. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm asking for help. If someone has 10 years of knowledge on hunting this area, I'm gonna be like, okay, what's the best way to get in here to do this, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's big too.
Yeah. That was the whole premise of me starting this podcast 10 years ago, was just trying to find guys that I could ask questions to try to become a better hunter. And that was it. And you're 100% right, man. When I was going to the plains and stuff, I was talking to guys like Eddie Claypool. I'd have come on the podcast, and I would do it selfishly because I wanted to spend an hour with him asking them
Pick
questions
his
before I
brain.
went. Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. You know,
Yeah.
when I picked up the stick bow, I immediately went to Mike and our buddy Chris, who does a lot of taxidermy work.
Mhm,
Those two guys are deadly with those things. You
mhm.
know, I mean, asking for help with that's hard because it's hard to pick up. You know, I mean, that's not just something and that's what I figured. I still tried to do the thing, and I tried to just, oh, I can do it. You know, I hit the target twice. Let's go. But that stuff, man, I feel I feel bad for myself that I did that because I feel like it would have been something that I would really love, and I do want to get back into it eventually.
Mhm.
But it's give and
Yeah.
take, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, if it's something you want to do, you'll find it whenever you're supposed to find it. That's
Yeah.
kind of how I feel about it. Because I picked up a stick bow, whatever it was, probably 10 years or so ago, and hunted one season with it and was awful.
Yeah.
And,
That's how I
and
felt.
yeah, and I went away from it. And truthfully, at the time, I thought I'd never go back to it.
Yeah.
And then just over time, I started kind of having more curiosity about it. And I had some people around me. At the time, I didn't know anybody that shot a stick bow
Uh
then.
huh.
And now it's like I have a bunch of friends who do. So to your point, I had a lot of friends I could ask questions and say,
Yeah, you
"Hey,
need that help.
yeah, say, hey, I'm doing this. Like, how do you do this?" And I spent a day with a buddy of mine. We set up a bow or set up an arrow, tuned an arrow for me, and kind of taught me some of the ins and outs of shooting a little bit, and at least got me on the right path, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah, you need that. I think you need that with everything. I think a lot of people go into stuff without asking the questions. And if you don't ask, you don't know. That's how I
yeah,
always live by. That's my
yeah.
biggest thing.
Yeah, there's no
So
stupid questions. There's only stupid people for not asking questions.
exactly. Yep. Agreed.
Nice. So, hey, man, we were just talking about mentorship, kind of, right? A little bit there is what the kind of is what it was.
Hmm.
You know, when you started hunting, like, how did you get started hunting? Did you come up with like a hunting family? Was it something you just kind of picked up on your own?
So so my dad was the guy. My
Okay.
dad was he just loved to hunt, my father. That's all he wanted to do. I get a little emotional with my dad, so bear with me, but I'm gonna
Mhm.
try to do my best. But as you can tell, just from that alone, that tells you, you know, I was all about my father. It was all about fishing and the outdoors and hunting and just being outside. That was
Mhm.
our thing. My dad got me like a little bear bow. I think the first shot I ever did was in my bedroom through the closet door. Then I escalated to outside. Yeah, like my poor mother, I don't know how she still deals with it, but as you can, there's no targets here. That's how my mom was
Right.
tough when it came to that. She was good
Mhm.
with us, you know, bringing home something, but there was no shooting around the house. She was very tough. But yeah, it was my father was definitely the roots of it.
Right.
Since I was a little baby, um, and until about 3 years ago when he passed, that was
Mhm.
all was it about was hunting. We just driving down the
Nice.
road, boom, you see something, just and everything I do now, is because of him. You
Mhm.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
He really put me in the right direction, I feel, and it's something that it's so deep,
Yeah.
how much hunting has taken a part of me. It's
Yeah.
just really taken a lot, and I love every second of it.
Nice, man. I'm curious, did you start off like a lot of us do, small game hunting and stuff like that, and kind of progress from there? Because like my dad, we did a lot of gun hunting growing up. We didn't bow hunt growing up. That wasn't something I started until I was a little older. But we were always doing a lot of small game. Like, we would always deer hunt every year, rifle hunt and stuff like that
Hmm.
here in PA. But we spent a lot of time squirrel hunting, rabbit hunting,
Squirrel.
pheasant hunting. You know what I mean? Like, basically anything you could hunt, turkey hunting, whatever we could hunt, we could hunt. Now, deer
Yep.
season was always the mecca,
Yes.
but just
Especially
anytime we
six
could be
day.
out. Yeah.
6 day firearm, I'm sure. That was like all the guys got together. Um, but yeah, I started off small game, very small, the pellet gun, the whole stories everybody knows. The
Mhm.
little BB guns. And I remember I shot like 4 squirrels one day, and I put them all on the side, and I took their tails and I hung it on a 2x6 for my father. And that was my trophy. I was so
Yeah.
excited for that. And I could see it when he saw it. He was like, "Oh my God, he knew right away. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, case settled for I ain't
Yeah.
going anywhere."
Right.
So but yeah, we did a lot of quail, pheasant, Never ducks. I didn't get into ducks till later. We did some rabbit hunting, but I would say it was mostly the deer. I would say mostly the deer and 6 day firearm was a big thing here in Jersey. 6 days of gun hunting. Well, that was like my thing too with them. I used to always love going to guys,
Mm-hmm.
and they were all cops too. So that's what kind of molded me to want to become a cop. I'd hear all the stories, at
Yeah.
the gun club, and two things that I loved: hanging out with my dad and hunting.
Mhm.
So right away, oh, that's all I wanted. I wanted to be like them, and
Yeah.
that's where I got molded into what I am today. So
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Sounds like a good group of guys to be around too.
yeah,
It's like, and you need that whenever you're a young fella,
yeah, yeah.
you know,
They were
the,
definitely a good group.
yeah, the, we didn't have the 6. So we had like a 2-week gun season that we had here in PA. We still kind of have the same thing. We have a couple extra days now with like Sunday hunting, and it
You
opens on
guys
a
shut
different day.
schools though
Yeah. Oh
for
yeah.
that.
First day of deer season, we were always off. It shocked me whenever went to college, and
That's awesome.
I was like, we don't get the first day of buck season off. I was like,
What? Listen. I'm in Jersey, so you imagine what I have to deal with. Okay,
right,
it's yeah. They would. I don't think we'll ever see that here, unfortunately.
right.
But
The so we were talking a little bit about where the type of areas that you hunt, and you're hunting a lot of like permission pieces and stuff like that. What's that kind of habitat look like? Is it a lot of swamp? Is it a lot of like, thick, nasty kind of like undergrowth areas? Because where I live, I don't live too far from Jersey. I'm on the east coast of PA, and there's a lot of
yeah.
areas that I hunt that are either so much deer activity that the entire understory is gone, and that the
hmm
deer really don't live there any longer, or you get into some like low-lying swampy areas that are just kind of nasty, gnarly, that you look at it and you're like, I don't even know how anything would ever walk through that, right? I kind of get both pieces of it here.
Yeah. I came to that swamp area, um, that kind of terrain last year for a little bit, and there was nothing. There was one deer in particular that we were looking for, but um, I would say really, really thick pieces. I feel
Mhm,
like the thicker the piece is, the more mature deer can hide.
mhm,
The one I recently just killed, last week or 2 weeks ago. I mean, there are spots in there where I had to get on my hands and knees, crawl, right,
mhm.
and then get a camera in a tree, and I'm like, if a 4 mile an hour wind comes through here, I'm making 1,000 photos. I'm like, what is this? Oh, this is ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, but I had to do it. I had no choice. You know what I mean? And that camera actually paid off. But I would say super, super thick and a lot of open hardwoods we get.
Mhm,
Those are my two main things. If you got that thick area, a good one can hang in there, and then he can come out into that open woods, look for his
mhm,
doe, get his acorns, whatever it may be, and
mhm. What time of year do you find the most success? Like, do you feel like early season for you is
100%.
yeah?
Early season for me is the easiest. They're easier to pattern. They're all bunched up. They're not, from one piece in tonight, and then tomorrow they're 2 miles down the road.
Mhm,
Um, we do have a lot of ag around here, so a lot of bean fields. You can just drive by, take a look. You can stop, drive around, and the biggest thing that helped me was my son Dominic. Recently, for the last 2 years, he wouldn't fall asleep until like, I don't know, but we would drive around, and it was perfect because I had to get out of the house, and I take him, and we go drive around developments. Look at That's the biggest area. You go to a development, big money development, you probably find yourself something good.
mhm,
Um, because chances are they're not going to let you hunt.
mhm,
you know? And I think a lot of people get turned off by that. They're like, oh, this guy's got a gated, front yard. He's not gonna let us hunt. Well, if you don't ask, you don't know.
mhm.
I've knocked on numerous houses like that, and they're like, come on in,
They're
So,
eating all my bird seed. I'm tired of feeling a bird feeder.
well, you want to talk about birdseed? That's pretty much how I almost killed. Well, it was part of how I killed this last year.
Hmm.
But we'll jump into that after.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Nice. The reason I say it is because we have a bunch of deer that live in our neighborhood,
Yeah.
and they're always eating like out of the bird feeder of the neighbor's bird feeder all the time and stuff like that. And I just had another buddy of mine on, and he killed a giant in Kentucky. Same thing. He was knocking on doors, saw a deer, ended up just knocking on the door. Guy couldn't have been nicer. I was like, yeah, absolutely, go hunt that deer. I got another fellow that hunts here too, but he doesn't hunt here until later in the year or whatever the case is.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, yeah,
That sucks.
yeah. And nice as could be, and let him hunt there, and he ended up killing a hammer, because he
Oh,
glassed
that's
it, saw it,
awesome.
and bada boom, bada bing, he's got a
Yeah.
velvet giant on the ground. And I think a lot of times, I think our own personal negative thoughts we portray on other people and think they're going to respond a certain way, right? Or I
Yeah.
think if you just approach and say, "Hey, this is what I want to do," sure, you're going to get plenty of no's, but you're really just looking for the one yes.
That's
You
all.
know?
Listen, I don't care if you have 1,000 no's and one yes. At least you have that one opportunity that may give you a chance at that deer. So
Mhm.
I've always told people, I said, if you can get at least one yes, that you're ahead of the game. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And I would not skip over it.
yeah,
If you can do it, then do it. I
nice.
mean, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the worst they can do is say no.
That's it.
And usually
Yep.
it's, and my buddy was saying, he said, even when I get no's, he's like, I've only ever, of all the times I've done it, he's like, I've only ever run into one person that was actually kind of like mean about it. He's
Yeah.
like, otherwise people were like, yeah, I'm not really into that right now, but let me take your information and maybe I'll talk to you later or whatever. He said, they've always been
Well,
kind of cordial about it.
so I've noticed, for me, I mean, my background helps. Okay, police
Sure.
officer, so they have a lot. Right away, they're like, it makes them feel a little bit better.
Hmm.
So that definitely helps. But being knowledgeable of the laws and 450, 150 feet, whatever the case may be, and tell them that listen, I'm only bow hunting. There's no guns involved. That's my biggest thing. I tell them,
Yeah.
listen, I'm just bow hunting. There will not be a gun cracked here, no crossbows. Um, I'm elevated in a tree shooting down.
Hmm.
If you don't want me coming on the weekend because your kids are out playing, no problem. I will work with you. You
Hmm.
guys live here. I don't. That's my
Hmm.
biggest thing. You know, um, and I think knowing as much, being knowledgeable about it is huge help because a lot of people don't know. It's like, oh, this guy's gonna go kill something in my backyard. They don't really know what actually as hunters that we do.
Right.
They don't know that we're up in a tree. They don't know, that we practice nonstop. We're shooting our
Hmm.
bows. There's just a lot of things that people are, and then trail cameras. I wouldn't even mention that.
Hmm.
Don't even mention that you're putting a trail camera in the back because right away they're like, you're gonna have a camera in my backyard.
Right.
So just X that out.
Yeah.
Just say I'm looking for a big deer. That's it. Have you
Yeah.
seen
Have you
and I'd
seen him?
love to hunt your property. That's it.
And if you see him, call me.
Yeah, call me.
Nice. What do you think, what's one kind of small terrain or habitat detail that hunters will overlook in the type of areas or in the area that you hunt that will absolutely make or break a hunt?
Go overlook.
I'll give you an example for me because there was a small spot that I used to hunt local to me,
Uh-huh.
that was close to some housing, right? And it was like near a swamp, and there were some decent bucks in there. And I kind of abandoned it because the access was so bad. Like there was only one way to get in, there was only one way to get out. Now, if I could
Yeah.
ever get access to any of the private property, which I couldn't, I wasn't like I asked, they were nice about it, but I wasn't allowed to do it. Without that access, it was almost impossible to hunt because
That's the
I would walk
worst.
in and I could hear the deer moving. Like I'm
Yeah, they're
blowing them
out.
out as I'm walking in. So I'm curious for you, like, especially in the types of setups you're hunting that are super, you know, tight, so to speak. Like what is a nuance that is like the make or break deal on those setups?
Well, the only thing I could say is for me is, and a prime example, the last deer I killed, I probably had permission from 12 houses. Like I went overboard. I didn't need all that, but I knew I had no choice. Um, man, it's tough. I never really, I've knock on wood. I've been lucky to not have that issue, I guess. Plus I grew up here, so I kind of know everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I couldn't really, I couldn't really tell you. I couldn't answer that for you. I don't know.
Yeah. Every setup's a little bit different, so there's probably not one.
Honestly, it is, and we also hunt over bait, so
okay.
that makes it a lot easier. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This last deer I shot was not over bait. Like I said, we'll talk about how funny that was. That's a story.
Right.
But yeah, so for me, I don't have to really go into a big piece, right? And go scout. I can just walk in 30 yards like I do, drop, 50 pounds of corn and run the trail camera. And early season, you'll get 1-2 bucks, and the bachelor group comes in and like, all right, this is where I'm hunting. September 13th, 11th, whatever the case may be, opening day.
Right.
So I guess for us, it's a little different.
Right.
Coming from PA, I know you can't bait. So for you, it's a lot more work.
Yeah.
Because baiting makes things way easier. I understand that.
Right. Right.
Believe me.
Yeah. Believe me, I wish I could have hunted that piece, that little piece. Like the first year I put trail cameras in it, there were 2 deer that were probably, I'm trying to remember because it's been a couple years now. There was one deer that was like a mainframe 10 that went over a little over 150. Like he was just a brute of a deer, old deer, big old sagging belly, swaying his back.
Big old paunch.
Yeah, big old paunch. And then there was, I'm trying to remember, I think there were at least 2 others. There might have been a third if I'm recalling correctly, that were in like the 130 to 140 kind of range. And it was killing me that I couldn't get in there to hunt because I knew what they were doing. They were so consistent in one particular area. It was just getting in there. I even tried to backdoor it through there was a business that was there that gave me access to use their property if I wanted to access like through theirs. Awesome. But I don't want to give the spot away, but there was no way to get through this particular area. Like it wasn't happening. Like I tried, and it was like, I might die out here if I try this. It was one of those types of scenarios.
Don't want to do that.
Yeah. But anyway, so let's, I want to talk a little bit about like how much history do you typically have with a deer before you hunt a particular deer. So like how much intel, how familiar do you want to be with a buck, before you actually start to go after him? Like, is it, you see him once and you're like, yep, I'm going to go hunt that deer, or is there more you want from him?
Well, so it's really hard. So around here, a lot of the hunters don't let those deer mature to that certain level. It's hard to come by one, to be honest. That's why that last deer I shot, I can't wait to see his age, but I know he's over 5 or 6 years old. Mm-hmm. And that's because he just wouldn't go to bait. But yeah, it's early season's where it's at for us over here, I like getting them on camera, seeing what they're doing. So early season, they're coming to the bait 9 times out of 10. And you can kill them fairly easy. Once the velvet is off, everybody knows they get a little weary. They start to wet their toes, different places, branch out. Like I said, over here, it's not like if I have history with a deer, it's most likely a year or 2. It's not like I'm able to keep a deer around, and I've tried everything. If I could keep a deer around for 4 years myself, oh my God, it would be great. But their hunting pressure and the amount of people and the building, like they're building a house right here right next to us, this was a giant lot, there'd be deer all through here. I thought they were behind us now, but it's all squirrels.
Right.
But like 2 years ago, they would have been, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But yeah, so as for history, and early season is totally different. If I get them on camera, I just try and get 3 shooters on camera, give or take. And I try and pursue the biggest at first. If he's a pain, I'll try and save it. But come the rut, you just got to be in the woods. You know what I mean? I don't care if you get one picture, you're already behind the 8 ball, you just got that's how I see that. So I guess,
so it sounds like it's pretty quick. It's like if you see something that catches your eye, it's like you're trying to make a move. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I like seizing the opportunity as fast as I can. If you know, if I get someone on camera that I like, I'm on it. You know, but
yeah.
like I said, a lot of my success is the early season.
Mhm.
So that's been kind of like that's been the norm for me is the early season because they're easier to pattern, and then I'm usually not content, but I'm pretty happy with my early season buck, and I'm always looking to capitalize on the rut time, because
Mhm.
that is one of the most best times in the woods to watch deer on their
Mhm.
feet,
Yeah.
grunting and fighting, making scrapes. I love all of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's fun just watching them do that stuff, man. Like that's just,
yeah, I spike or not, whatever. It's still cool. Even
yeah.
hitting the grunt a few times and watch them come running in. It's like
Mhm.
did it
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
Or if I was there's a young buck just doing what young bucks do.
Right,
So
right, exactly. Yeah, that's cool, man. Like, locally to me, when I have a deer that I would like to chase, it's like I usually try to chase him quick.
yeah,
For the same reason where if he piques my interest, I usually don't have similar to you where it's chances of that deer making it to the next year probably pretty
tough.
low. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if he's interesting to me, I'm probably going to make a play. And
Yep.
now it's different in the big woods piece where it's like I've watched deer for 3 years, or 2 years before I ever tried to make a move because I just didn't know enough about that deer, you know what I mean? And I actually just
That's
went up
pretty
and
cool
pulled.
though.
It is awesome, and you start to really understand how they use a landscape and stuff like that. I just went up and pulled some cameras and checked some cameras this past weekend, and I hadn't checked any this, since I put cameras out in, like, May or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I went up this past opening weekend. I was like, I'll do some scouting. I'll hunt one evening, pull cameras, just kind of see what prospects are around. And there were two deer in particular that I had on camera from the prior year,
Uh-huh.
and one was 2 years ago. Um, where I was like, I told myself the past 2 years, like, man, if that deer makes it, he'll be good. And I was like, oh man,
Hammer.
if that deer makes it, he'll be good. And sure enough, like they're both on camera this year,
Oh, that's awesome.
and so we'll see if I get enough time between now and the time I have to leave to go to the Midwest that I can actually make a play on any of them,
Yeah, I
but
wish you luck.
oh yeah, thanks. And it's fun. I like both. I like the immediacy of like see deer, I got to go try to get him. And then I also
Yep.
like the letting one get a little older and get some age on him and watch him and start to learn him over the course of a couple
See,
seasons.
that is cool. I love that. And I always say, to my buddy Rich and my buddy Matt and both Matts, all my friends, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see what he's going to be next year.
Yeah.
And then it's like, where is he? And then I'm looking on like Jersey Big Bucks, or I'm looking on
Yeah.
different websites, like, or
Yeah.
I'm asking the taxidermy, like, hey, you see this deer? Like, like he's got
Like it's a
warrants.
wanted poster. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my God. But, and it sucks because, it's tough because I think a lot of people, it's hard to go down this rabbit hole of letting deer go to maturity because, and I watch people shoot a little 115-inch deer and I see them smile ear to ear.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, damn. I'm like, I wish I still had that.
Hmm.
Like I wish I could shoot a 120 and be like so pumped like a little kid again. And
Hmm.
that's something that's hard to get back to.
Yeah.
You know, I,
What helped me with that a little bit, honestly, was picking up the stick bow.
I know. I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to ruin it for myself because
Yeah.
I did that. And I screwed it up.
Right. Yeah, because now I'm like, man, if I kill a doe with that thing, I'm gonna be fired
That's
up.
awesome. That's awesome.
It's like, just because of the how challenging
Yeah.
it is. But I know what you're saying, where it's like, I love seeing, someone shoot a deer that makes them super happy and gets them pumped,
Yeah.
no matter the size or whatever it is, you know. But there is a part of me, I'd be lying if I'd be untruthful if I said that I wasn't in the back of my mind thinking like, man, I wonder what that deer would have been in like another year
Yes.
or 2
Yes.
years,
And it's not something like we're not being judgmental.
No.
It's just that we're at a different part of our I guess life of hunting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everyone goes through that. Like I just wonder like when like does it stop? Like do I have to move to Kansas now to go shoot a 200? Because I
Right.
don't think I'm ever seeing that here. You know
Right.
what I mean? And it's like, damn, Like it's tough. It
Mhm.
is tough, but I agree with you. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I always wonder, like, man, what he would look like, what could have been. But
Mhm.
I am definitely happy when I see that smile. So,
Yeah.
because you know what, that's something
Because
that
at one
a
point
lot of people.
we were all that little kid,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. It
and
all
like,
started from there.
yeah, and that's why
I
we
don't
still
care
do
if
it because
it
we
was
got
a
that fired
doe.
up about a button buck whenever I was
Yes.
12 years old, and I thought I was shooting a doe that day during doe
Yeah.
season, but you couldn't see his nubbins. But whenever I finally walked up on him, like, Dad, he's got nubbins, it's like,
He's got nubs, Dad.
yeah, 100%, man. I remember the one buck I killed when I was a kid. I shot it. My uncle Randy was joking, like when I drug him up to the house or whatever, because we had a back 30 or a back 40, I guess,
Oh, nice.
where I grew up, and pulled the deer out, got it up to the house. My uncle comes up and he says, "Holy shit!" He's like, "How'd you even see those things through your scope?" He's like, "I don't even know if I can put a ring on one of those." Like, and he was being a little bit facetious, kind of, joking with me
Yeah,
or whatever, right? But man, I was proud as could be of shooting that deer, and that's the thing. It's
100%.
like it gets you into it, and it's like, and it's that kind of excitement that that still kind of burns today. I just look for something a little bit different of experience now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I'll tell you what. I am noticing I'm starting to get into like getting off the bait. Like the last
Mhm,
year I shot was off bait, and what a reward that
mhm,
was. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
mhm,
Like little stuff like that. I've
mhm,
noticed has helped me, I guess move on. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Um, but yeah, like I said, we can go on for hours when it comes to this stuff.
yeah,
But
exactly. Nice, man. So when you're finding these deer, and let's just say mature deer in your area, right? Because like you're doing it in a state, New Jersey, that's not known for having like big deer in general, or like
yeah,
quality maturity level, right? And you're doing it consistently, and people like sitting at home might be like, man, if they drop, like, taking someone from like the big woods and drop them where you are would be the same as taking you and dropping you in the big woods, where they look at it and go like, I don't even know where to find a deer here, let alone find
yeah,
a big deer, right?
yeah.
And so how do you kind of go about locating one, like, in general? Is it just like glass and bean fields in the summer? Is it
It's it. So that is a good part of it. Um, a lot of people call me too, like, "Yo, I just saw a big deer over here," and I'll go, and if I can get eyes on them, I'll go start knocking on doors.
Mhm.
Um, I
It's
guess,
is it a very visual thing with you where it's like, I need to lay eyes on one before I even start to make any moves?
yeah. I also go back to my trail camera photos, so I know I have like certain spots. I have like 20 spots that I know that have good genes, that produce
Mhm,
good deer, that I let a lot of deer go. It's the question, will this camera pick them up this year, the
mhm,
next year? And that's kind of what listen, there's times where I've gone into some places for like 5 years and nothing, I don't have any shooters, nothing. You know what I mean? I had
mhm,
one of the biggest deer I ever killed was right behind my mom's house.
mhm,
I had no idea about it.
hmm,
The only reason that came up was because a buddy was like, dude, there's a giant around here. We got to find it. He got a picture of it. I got a picture of it. We started hunting it, and finally, I killed it literally 200 yards away.
hmm,
Um, but I would say knowledge through trail cameras. Um, I would say area that I grew up in that I know holds good deer. Um, and I would say communication with other hunters.
mhm.
Other guys that are like, hey, I only hunt till 6-day firearm, or I don't like going out when it's hot as what out here, and the chiggers and the ticks. I'm like,
Mhm.
sign me up. I'll take all the chigger scars you want. I don't care.
Right,
So, but yeah, so those three would probably be the top, the ways I go about it.
right, okay. Makes sense, man. I mean, I think in your situation, correct me if I'm wrong, but that, like, um, I feel like that local knowledge is like a real, like,
It
leg
helps.
up,
It
right? Where
helps.
it's like, if you don't have that, because I think you could take me, for example, and I've done, like, suburban hunting, like, around where I live and stuff like that,
Yeah.
so I kinda understand. stand it to a degree. But even if I came to where you're at, I don't think you could drop me in and find the deer that you're finding, because I think that local knowledge, especially in that type of scenario, because I feel like the hard part to me to suburban hunting is that you have to know all the little pockets and nooks and crannies,
And
right?
I'm still finding pockets that I've missed that I'm
Right,
like, there's 5 bucks in here that are all shooters. I'm like,
right.
how? I mean, I'm talking like you can't even hunt in there. You did. I saw him one day. I'm like, how is that possible? And then I look at the layout and I look at all the posted signs and
Mm-hmm.
all the different little pieces that are put. And it's the hunting pressure. They
Mm-hmm.
drive them away and they keep, and that's what they do around here. It's the
Mm-hmm.
drive. It's the pressure. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that local knowledge of that is just, um, like, can't be overemphasized enough, right? Because I think
Yeah.
you can take someone with local knowledge of a big woods piece, and they might know that there's good deer, and they know like the land really well, but there's
Yep.
so much space for the deer to be in where it's like it doesn't guarantee anything really, right? But I feel
True.
like in your scenario, like that local knowledge is like
It's a
is
big step up.
yeah, yeah, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's a big step up, because finding them and knowing where you can hunt them is like the biggest puzzle piece for you, it seems
Yeah,
like.
and if they're not there, you're not gonna, if like I said, the whole pond thing, you know what I mean? You can keep on casting in that pond, but if there's nothing there, then what are you doing? You're wasting your time. I always
Right.
said you got to go to the where the deer are.
Right. Which
And
means there's that much more work, because if you got to, you have to have 20 spots. Like, you can hunt like a big acreage piece, and you might have 5 or 6 spots that you think are going to be really good. And like there's
yeah,
historical sign there, and your truck camera data maybe tells you like, hey, this time of year, this spot turns on, this time of year, this spot turns on, whatever the case is. Right.
yeah,
But for you, all 5 or 6 of those spots could be dead. You
absolutely.
need like 20.
No, you have to because you never know. And with like I said, all of the overdevelopment, they're pushing deer around left and right.
What's here last year is gone next year. Yeah.
Yep, and you got different parks. The parks play a big role out
Mm,
here. They're sanctuaries. If you're
yeah.
near a park, you're probably doing good. You
Right.
know what I mean? Um,
Hmm.
that's another little key.
Right.
It's a sanctuary. If you want to laugh, jug handles. If you ever go through a jug handle around here in Freehold, Marlboro, whatever, just look down. I bet you there's something, whether it's a spike or a 6-pointer, but they're in a jug handle. And that's like that tells you something about where we're hunting. It's
Right.
just it's that bad. You know
Right.
what I mean? They're
Right.
going anywhere and everywhere they can to hide.
Right.
So,
Damn.
but yeah.
So I wanna transition now to the deer you killed here a couple weeks ago,
Mhm.
because that thing was a slammer. And so I guess walk me through like the first time you saw him, when you recognized him, or when you even knew that he was alive. All right, folks, we are back. Sorry about that. A little technical difficulty with our cellular devices. Happens once in a while, man.
All right.
Technology, gotta love it, gotta hate it sometimes. Sometimes it does us good, sometimes it does us dirty. It's just the lot that we have in life.
Yep. The luck of the draw.
That's right. But man, what I was starting to say before things got a little wonky was I want to talk a little bit about the deer that you killed this year. You killed him like maybe two-ish so or weeks ago,
Uh-huh.
and just kind of, great deer, hammer of a deer, man. I was stoked
Thank
for you
you.
whenever you when I saw the post that you got him down. But
Thank
walk me through, I guess, like how you found this deer, what it was about him particular that made you say like, okay, this is a deer I'm going to chase. Because you were saying earlier, you know, you might find one like 2 to 3 deer because you never know what's going to really kind of happen.
you.
So you try to have like a stable of them to a degree where it's like, hey, I'd be
Mhm.
happy to kill any one of these. I'm going to target one, and then so what was it about this deer that made you want to target him, and how did you find this one?
So last season, I got a picture of him over bait, and he didn't cut it for me. He was real tall, awesome looking deer. Um, but at that time I was hunting this real heavy 7. And I ended up harvesting him, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let this one go and see what happens. Actually, Mike hunted him for a little bit,
Mm,
and wasn't able to get on him. Tough with bait. He just the deer wouldn't come to bait as often as you would like. So fast forward till this season early, I would say. Well, I know Mike also found his shed last season too, and I think he said it came out to like 70 something inches.
Jeez.
So it was actually a pretty decent deer for New
Yeah.
Jersey.
Yeah.
It's his body's what threw me off. So fast forward to like I would say May is when I dumped the camera and some corn out, same spot that I had it last year, and he showed up and he had this squiggly drop and I could see his brisket was just squared.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, his body's gigantic. And I'm like, and then he stopped coming to bait. So then I was like, all right, this is gonna be cat and mouse. So I had two other deer on camera early season, and one was a wide 9-pointer, short brows, and the other one was a big mainframe 8. And I was just like, and they were coming in constantly, nonstop. I was like, you know what? I'm like, I'm gonna go for this guy. This is tough. I could tell already he's not coming to bait as much. He was coming early, and then he would start going later and later. So I started dumping my trail cameras. This spot in particular was just imagine like a main artery, right, of woods, and it branched off into different like little veins. And in between these veins are houses, a development, a main road, and there was bridges involved, which I saw. I'm sure you saw the trail cam photo coming onto the bridge. That's something that I picked up a couple of years ago. Like, and also, roads don't mean a thing here. I don't care. A road is nothing. I don't care if you can think all you want. If the deer's over here, chances are he crossed the road, and they do that constantly and constantly underneath roads too. Even a couple of pipes, different pipes that we have with trail cameras on them. They travel that too. So just know if you're hunting out here in Jersey, roads don't mean a damn thing.
Yeah.
Sure, out west too.
Well, yeah, because even whenever I was in Kansas a couple years ago, I was driving back from hunting this area, and I was kind of glassing, and the area that I was driving to, it was all private where it wasn't public, so I wasn't able to hunt it. And I saw a hammer of a deer walking. I was like, dang. And I'm walking, I pulled off the side of the road, and I was just glassing him, and he went under this bridge, through this culvert, and out the other, cool? And it's like the culvert was huge. I mean, gigantic, and just like walked right through it. And I'm like, dang, I was like, I would have never thought of that, but I actually literally watched him do it. But yeah, so anyway, I didn't mean to disrupt.
No, but you know what? That's what's great about hunting, because you're always learning something different. You know what I mean? And I don't care how many years you've been hunting. Either way, a bow hunter will tell you, oh, I learned something new this year, and it could be little things, but those little things all add up. But yeah, so getting back to the steer, like I said, he was super tough. Couldn't get him on camera a lot with the bait. I kept on getting him on this one particular, I guess you would say vein, this corridor area, real thick, had water, and he would disappear for 3 days, 4 days. And I'm like, what is he doing? Right. So me and my son, we took a little ride. We went into the development right before dark. And there's a lady in the center of the development. She has, if you look on Google Earth, there's 2 brown spots. When I passed it and saw that it was yellow, I was like, wait a second. Like, this broad's been feeding this deer this whole time. He doesn't have to go to my bait. So I backed into the cul-de-sac. I told my buddy Jimmy that we're going to be there on watch for this deer. And Clint, I swear to you, it was probably around about this time, just before dark. I'm sitting there with my son and Rogue with the pup, and here he comes right between 2 houses. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And single file, him, an 8-pointer, another 6-pointer, a couple like little scrappy bucks. And I mean, you could see he was the ringleader. And he went there and he would eat, and then he'd go right back. And I'm like, this whole time we're trying to figure out where this deer is, and he's been here. He just doesn't have to leave.
Yeah.
He's got water, which he's got the pond, and he's got this lady who's feeding him once a night. She was feeding him bird seed, peanuts, and corn, right? So he's got a buffet. So no wonder he didn't leave. And that was a huge break for us. Well, for me, it was a huge break because I was like, all right, it's got to be one of his main beds. And every deer, I don't care, you can say nocturnal all you want, every deer is on their feet at some point during the day. I don't care who you are. Um, but I knew that area where he came out of, that's his honey hole.
Mhm.
And that's where I told you earlier in our talk where I had a belly crawl, get a camera up in that little thicket. And that was, I actually found his bed, which
Mhm.
was pretty cool too. But yeah, that was one of the biggest breakthroughs I had with a deer. I've never encountered that. Um, and I stopped immediately. I stopped baiting. I just
Mhm.
stopped all baiting. And I'm like, you know what? If I get him going down this way towards that bridge, I know that if I can get 80 yards in front of him, I'll be out of his wind if the wind's right, and I'll wait until he's coming up to her. Why do I have to spend the money to bait a deer? Let
Right.
her keep doing it. She's apparently got the funds. She's been doing it.
Right.
I'm telling you, I'll show you a picture. You're gonna crack up. Two brown spots. It looked like someone took a dirt bike and just did donuts. So yeah, so with that, I hunted him pretty consistently. There was one point him and the whole group of other deer, the two bucks that he was with and does, I would say about 60 to 70 yards out, there's a creek, real deep. I couldn't see his horns, but my trail camera I have in the creek got him going by it. As I put it
Mhm.
on the reveal, put it on video, and sure enough, they used the creek that day. And that was another breakthrough. A lot of the times they didn't want to be out in the open. They would take the creeks, and the creeks are super high over here. So that was another thing that caught my attention with the trail cameras.
Mhm.
Um, it's funny. I didn't have a picture of him the night I killed him because I couldn't get a camera in the guy's yard.
Mhm.
It wasn't happening, whether I wanted it to be there or not. Um, I was like, you know what? I'm like, I'm gonna go sit. It's the red moon. I'm like, I'm gonna go sit this piece as closest to his bed possible. I'm gonna sit it and see what happens. Well, I would say I got in about 4:30, sitting there, and that's late for me. I'm
Mhm.
sitting there, and an hour later, here come a couple of does, and it's a ditch kind of. There's a road on one side that's real high, and then it goes up, and I'm kind of like on that down slope, and I'm literally behind his house, right on the
Mhm.
back side of his house. I could see my buddy Jimmy in his pool swimming laps, and I could watch deer.
Right.
And that's the kind of hunting we do out here. Like I've
Right.
actually sat in a tree stand and I've watched TV from a guy's backyard. Like early in the morning, I'm like, oh my wow, look at that, you know.
Right.
Um, so long story short, I had a doe and two fawns who were pretty frequent. They come out and they're just eating. I don't even know what they were eating. It's like there was anything, like there wasn't major acorns there. There was nothing. It was just like leaves. They were just
Mhm.
eating weird leaves. I couldn't tell you what it was. So that kind of surprised me too. Then I watched a couple work up along the road and they were eating some acorns up on the road. And now up this way to my right, there was a nice acorn flat and then the bait pile where it used to be. And that's
Mhm.
kind of like the hub, the triangle, I call that. They can go south, east, west, north, wherever they want from there. So they're working their way up. And then I had another big mature doe. She comes out the thicket out in front of me. And she comes out with a button buck. And the button buck, it was about 6:20, 6:15. And the button buck does this, snaps his head. And I'm like, now, I'm always terrible at keeping my video cameras running. But
Mhm.
this time, knock on wood, I did. There was like 40 minutes left of the night. So I was like, you know what? I got full battery, unlike my phone before. I'm going to throw the record on and go. He snaps his head back, and I just catch his rack, which is at least almost 2 feet tall.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, this is happening right now. And I'm trying to talk to myself because I can hear my heart coming out of my chest. I'm like, all right, listen, you need to relax. I'm like, you've done this 1,000 times. Just calm down and get it done. And I got the camera Camera's on him. He goes behind a thicket. He comes out right where I expected him, right where the doe and the fawn, the other two came out. And there's this big hump of this overgrown grass and weeds, and then there's an opening, and it's only 22 yards, right? I watched the button buck. He cruises through that. I'm like, all right, I set the video camera up now on that opening, zoom it out enough. Now I'm knocked and ready to go. As he's coming up to it, I draw back, and they all like, oh my God. I'm like, I just blew this. I'm like, I'm not gonna, that's it. I'm like, he's never coming back. I don't know what deer saw me. I don't know what it was. Now I looked at the video 1,000 times, and from what I think, what happened, I think he charged the little button buck. But long story short, he runs up, and he now is at 40 something yards, and he's through all this thicket. I couldn't get an arrow in there if I tried, Clint. And I was thinking of it, really. I was thinking hard. I'm like, this year is never going to give me another shot like this. So I'm anchored back, and I got the 40-yard pin on him, and I'm looking, and I'm like, you know what? I can't do it. I'm not going to just let an arrow fly. I let down, and he does a 180, and it comes right towards me. I'm like, oh my, I'm getting chills. Oh my God. I'm like, this is going to happen. I'm like, now I got the video camera on him, and he's coming. I shot him at 31 yards. He's coming, but I had to stop him because if he would have went a little bit more, he would have been into that thicket. I wouldn't be able to see him. And my wind going back behind me. And I gave him the old map and I let it rip. And I'll tell you what, my biggest buck was Waldo, we called him. That's the one I shot right by my mom's house. And I did that to him. And that was one of the cool, I always had that like dream of stopping a big giant buck. And I didn't get Waldo on camera, but I heart shot him. Lucky, I got lucky. Same thing with him though. I sent that sever, man, right into the shoulder. And the first thing I thought was, oh my God, I hit him in the shoulder. I'm like, I'm screwed. He's a big, mature body deer, 31 yards. I'm only shooting 70 pounds. You know, I'm thinking, obviously, you think the worst.
Yeah.
Anyway, I cracked him with that. He immediately tucked and hit the bottom of the creek and took off, and I didn't hear anything. Only thing I heard was myself saying, oh my God, I got him, I shot him. So I relaxed myself as best as I could. I got down, I called my buddy Rich, who I always call as soon as I kill or shoot something. And he's like, you got flashlights? And I'm like, yeah, I got flashlights, right? He pulls up to the house. I'm like, dude, this is the video. I hit him here. I'm like, what do you think? He's like, well, it's good that we give him a little time just in case, you know. And we go to turn the lights on and we're dead. I got a problem, man. I got a problem with
the battery problems, man.
Come out. So he's like, you know what? He's like, listen, let's go see the arrow. We'll check the arrow out, and we'll go get lights at Home Depot. We'll give him some more time just in case. Found the arrow. It was broke 3/4 the way up, so there's plenty of penetration. Covered in blood. I'm like, all right, this is great. Go about Home Depot, get the lights. I swear to God, if someone was up in space and they were looking down, they definitely saw us because we had 2 giant lights. And listen, there was no blood. Jeez. I never actually made it through him. I hit right through the shoulder. And when we found him about 80 yards down the creek, because he took the creek up, he was piled up on the left side of the creek. When I opened him up, that shaft and the broadhead was poking through this side. It was just another couple pounds, and I would have pierced right through, and then we would have probably beautiful, great blood the whole way. But yeah, it was in the shaft was broke off in his heart, and I was like, crazy. That's one of the best shots I've ever made in a very long time. You know,
that's awesome. And
just the way the whole figuring out, you know, he's eating on this lady's bait pile. Dealing with another hunter that was in a piece about 150 yards away from me that shouldn't have been. All that stuff, you know, getting him not on bait, that was a huge win for me. And that really, that's what made it, I think, is the pursuit of him, of not getting him on bait and really figuring out what he does on a daily basis.
Right.
It's the
Yeah, man. That's awesome, dude. When you release an arrow, man, it's always unnerving, right? Like
Yeah.
you think the worst. Like, it's funny the way you found that arrow, because the deer I shot in Kansas, I hit him. I went through both of his shoulders.
Oof.
And the arrow was up against, when I took him to the taxidermist, he opened him up, was caping him out, and I couldn't find the broadhead or anything in him. Like, I was being careful because I was like, man, I don't want to cut myself, because when I found him, I was like, I'm going to end up cutting my fingers or something like that, trying to get up in it and pull the heart out and pull all the lungs out and stuff like that, and didn't find anything. And I was like, man, where did the arrow go? Because I didn't find it on the ground. I found even find a broken off piece. Like, I couldn't find the arrow, right? Nothing. And because he jumped into CRP, and it's like a quagmire in there, and so it's like trying to find anything in there was not going to happen. And got into the taxidermist, and he was caping him out, and the tip of the broadhead was just sticking out the other side of the shoulder, like on the off shoulder, and laying up against the hide, right? So it didn't pierce the hide, but it came through the shoulder, and there was a piece of arrow that was connected to it about that much that was still in there. So I don't know where the rest of the arrow went, but it was the same type of thing where I blew through both shoulders, and the arrow and broadhead, chunk of the arrow and the broadhead just kind of stayed in there. But he was smoked. It was like both lungs, heart, got everything.
Yeah, you crushed him.
Yeah.
And I'm always, my buddy Brad Snow, he always told me, he's like, Dom, anytime you shoot a deer, remember they run out of air before they run out of blood.
Yeah.
Never a heart shot kind of guy always, but as a bow hunter, you have to make that decision. Do you take it? Are you capable of taking it? And that's why we practice. And that was another big thing for me is I joined the Black Knights. It's a bow hunting 3D targets they have all set up. It's awesome. It's such a great place to be a part of, and a great group of guys. That really helped me this year. My shooting. A lot. It helped a lot, that's something that I've never really done but it was something that I did this year a lot of 2 or 3 times a week. So I definitely if you're a hunter and you want to, get better at shooting and judging distances, if you can get involved with a club like that, by all means do it.
Yeah. 100%, man. Well, dude, I'm happy for you. I'm glad you killed him. I was stoked when I saw the post.
Thank you.
Couldn't be happier for you. It's starting to get dark, and truth be told, I gotta get a pump in today. I'm trying to get swole like you. Trying to get big. So before I let you get out of here, though, let people know where they can follow along with you and everything you have going on for the rest of the season. I'm gonna really focus on my YouTube this year. It's rogue_whitetails. My Instagram mainly is where I really focus all my attention. I am gonna try and pursue another deer that I got sheds of last year. So stick with me if you can. I'm gonna try and make it happen. We start November 1st for a permit, so I have a little bit of time between now and then. I want to thank you, Clint, for on here. And I hope to talk to you soon, and I hope you score what we talked about before. Yeah, appreciate it.
Hope that happens. And just thank you for your time, guys. I really appreciate it.
All right, buddy. I appreciate you, man. You be safe out there. All right.
Thank you, Clint. Have a good one. All right.
All right, folks, that is a wrap for today's show. I'd like to thank all of you for listening. And if you haven't yet, please head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast. And hell, while you're at it, head over to YouTube and give us a sub there too. I'd be super appreciative if you do those couple things for me. And before I shut this thing down, I need to give a big shout out to our partners who continue to help us make this podcast possible. Tacticam, Osseo Gear, Hawk Optics, Face Off E-Bikes, and Lathrop & Sons Boot Company. And until next time, we'll see y'all.